I want to talk about what is Big Co Studio. This is the name of what you guys came up with, the new point of learning, a new structure, really of talking about innovation. Chad, can you talk to us about why you thought Big Co Studio was needed at Cornell?
Yeah, so I was sitting around one day talking with Dan Huttenlocher, who's the dean of Cornell Tech. And Cornell Tech has been around for several years now, even though the campus just opened up fairly recently. And Dan and I were talking about how there's so much like content and material and podcasts about like how to pitch a startup and fund a startup and grow a startup. And even Cornell Tech in their studio program, which really emphasizes hands-on learning and like doing real things, had a track called Startup Studio. But there was no track for building things in larger companies. And in fact, schools like Cornell Tech, when people graduate from Cornell Tech with their degrees, they tend to go work for Big Co's. So we decided that it would make a lot of sense to expand the studio program and add another track called Big Co Studio, and really bring out like some of the secrets and such that we've learned, Bradley and I've learned over the years.
Bradley, have you got any examples of companies that are doing it really right, and any big companies that perhaps have been a case study of when they didn't do it right, they didn't manage to innovate from within?
Well, as Chad said, as we referred back to some of the seminal literature, one of the ways we opened the course was with Innovator's Dilemma, Clay Christensen, which I think was written in the 80s. And the examples he's using are like these massive conglomerates like General Electric or companies that built hydraulic tractors and things like that. But what is so fascinating is the more things change, the more they stay the same. The sort of principles of business and human nature and the way that even disruptive technology unfolds is like gravity. It's a law of nature. It doesn't change as we sort of accelerate down the technology curve. It's as true today. And so one thing that kept sort of surprising me, as Chad said, it was sort of like we'd been playing baseball for 20 years, but we hadn't really studied physiology or the physics of baseball, and now we're sort of reading these manuals and like, that's why the curveball works, it's sort of decoding it at a meta level. And it was really both sort of gratifying and fulfilling to go back to the academic research and sort of see it through that lens over time. Now, to answer your question, there's examples like Apple, which is sort of the most amazing rebound in history.
Yes.
Microsoft, who everyone had counted out. What is also interesting is to see companies like Amazon and Google. Amazon, Jeff Bezos is quoted as saying, one day Amazon will die, and he has a philosophy called 0 day. And 0 day is really about resetting that clock every day. So it's sort of one way to cheat death, is if you can sort of start the timer over every day. And that's about the attitude that employees bring to their job. That's one way to stay a startup and not fall victim to some of the big company-itis that can lead to a demise.